I ever feel like most training programs, they're just, well, I don't know, kind of useless.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like you leave the room and you've learned all this stuff, but
Right.
does it actually like change how you do your job?
Yeah.
Today's deep dive, we are tackling that very problem.
It's a really common one. I think a lot of times we focus so much on just like
Totally.
cramming information into people's heads,
Yeah.
instead of actually like um,
Yes.
changing how they perform, in the real world.
Exactly. So to help us unpack this whole thing, we are diving into the work of instructional design guru Guy Wallace and his book, Conducting Performance-Based Instructional Analysis.
Great book.
Don't worry, it's way more interesting than it sounds.
It is. It is.
The guy, he's all about this idea of high-stakes performance. So we're talking like jobs where the stakes are high, and even small improvements can make a huge difference.
Huge, yeah.
And he actually gives this amazing example about a call center. I think you know the one I'm talking about.
Oh, yes. With the 3,500 salespeople, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where their daily goal was $750 in sales each.
Yeah.
But, less than half were hitting that target.
Right. So you think about the impact if they could like close that gap, We're talking like potentially millions of dollars in revenue.
Absolutely. Millions. Easily.
It's like mind-blowing. So how does Wallace suggest we approach this? Well, he talks about this thing called the Modular Curriculum Development Framework.
MCD.
MCD, exactly. And don't worry, we'll unpack what that actually means.
Yes, we will break it down.
But essentially, it's
It's a framework, essentially a 6-phase framework
okay.
for building training programs that, that actually work.
Right.
And the really cool part, I think, is that it embeds analysis throughout the entire process.
Oh, okay.
So you're constantly checking in, making sure that the training's still relevant, still impactful.
Okay, so let's break down this MCD framework a little bit. Like, what are those 6 phases? And how do they actually ensure that the training, like, hits the mark?
Sure. So phase 1 is all about project planning and kickoff.
Okay.
Kind of like laying the groundwork, right?
Yeah.
You're defining the scope of the project,
Oh.
identifying the key stakeholders, outlining those big picture goals for the training.
So far, so good. Sounds like a sensible starting point.
Mm-hmm.
You're making sure everyone's on the same page from the get-go.
Yes, exactly.
But here's where it gets really interesting. The second phase is analysis.
Right.
And it's not just a one-time thing, at the beginning.
Right. And this is what sets Wallace's approach apart, I think.
Okay.
He embeds analysis into every single phase of that MCD process.
Wow.
Because think about it. The needs of the business,
Yeah.
they can change constantly, right?
Oh, yeah.
The learners, what they need,
Yeah, absolutely.
can change.
Yeah.
You need to be ready to adapt the training.
Yeah. It's like that old saying, right? No plan survives contact with the enemy. You've got to be ready to adjust and adapt.
Precisely. And we need to avoid getting bogged down in details that sound interesting but don't actually help people perform better. Wallace calls these seductive details.
Oh, seductive details.
Yeah, and they can really be detrimental to the training's effectiveness.
It's like adding, I don't know, glitter to a birthday cake.
Yes.
It might look pretty, but it doesn't make it taste any better.
Exactly. Love the analogy. So you've laid the groundwork, you've done some initial analysis.
Right.
Now we move into the design phase.
Okay, so this is where we start building the actual training, right?
Yeah,
Talking, format, activities, the way the information flows, all that good stuff.
you got it. But
Yeah.
there's a twist.
Okay.
Remember how we said this is all about performance?
Right, yeah.
Well, Wallace is a huge advocate for designing backward.
Backwards.
Yeah,
Okay, you're going to have to explain this one.
sure.
It sounds a little counterintuitive.
So instead of starting with the content you want to teach, you start with the end in mind.
Okay.
What are those specific actions, those outcomes that you want to see on the job?
Okay, so you design the assessments first.
You design the assessments, the exercises, all that practical stuff first. Then you build the information and the demonstrations around those activities.
So you're basically like flipping the script, right?
Exactly.
You start with what people need to do, and then you build the training backwards from there.
That's it. And it ensures that every single piece of content, every activity, directly contributes to those desired performance outcomes.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So we've designed our training with those performance outcomes front and center.
Yes.
What comes next?
Next up are the more, I guess, traditional phases: development,
Okay.
pilot testing, and revision and release.
So development, that's where you're actually creating the materials, right?
Exactly.
Whether it's like online modules, facilitator guides, job aids, all that stuff.
All of that.
Mm-hmm.
And Wallace has some interesting advice for this stage, too. He's all about starting with what he calls an alpha version.
Alpha version.
Basically like a rough draft
Alpha.
of your training materials.
Gotcha.
He believes in getting feedback early and often.
Okay.
And who better to give feedback than those master performers we keep mentioning?
Right. They can help make sure that the content is accurate and, like, maybe more importantly, capture those subtle details and
Yeah.
tricks of the trade that often, get missed.
Absolutely, those lessons from Hades, as Wallace calls them.
Lessons from Hades.
Yes,
Yeah.
the things that trip people up in the real world,
Right.
but, might not be obvious to someone who's been doing the job for years.
Yeah, it's like tapping into that hidden knowledge
Yeah.
that, like, doesn't make it into the manuals or the presentations.
Exactly.
Love it. Okay, so we've got our alpha version. It's packed with all those insider tips.
Yes.
What happens next?
It's time for pilot testing. And Wallace has a very specific approach in mind. A full destructive test.
Okay, full destructive test. That sounds kind of intense.
I know, right?
What does that actually entail? Are we talking crash test dummies and simulations gone wrong?
Not quite as dramatic as it sounds, I promise.
Okay.
Essentially, it means putting your training through the ringer.
Mm-hmm.
Like trying to break it, find any weaknesses, any areas for improvement before you release it to the world.
So it's like a final dress rehearsal, but instead of politely applauding,
Yes.
the audience is encouraged to, like, be brutally honest
Yes.
and point out every single flaw.
That feedback is pure gold because it sets you up perfectly for the final phase, which is revision and release.
Okay, so that's where you incorporate all that feedback,
Yes.
polish it up, and then, finally unleash it.
That's right.
But it doesn't just end there, does it?
Wallace. It's all about continuous improvement.
Right?
He stresses that the analysis doesn't stop at release. It's about constantly monitoring for those errors of fact, those errors of omission, even those pesky errors of inclusion, the stuff that snuck in there, even though it shouldn't have.
Oh, yeah. And those lessons learned exercises he talks about, that's a key part of that.
Absolutely. It's about taking the time to reflect as individuals and as a team on what worked, what didn't, what you do differently next time, because there's always a next time.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From why performance-based training matters to this whole MCD framework.
Right.
Even this, crazy idea of a full destructive test.
Full destructive test.
But I feel like there's still more to uncover here.
There is. And this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Wallace connects all of this back to the bigger picture of, organizational performance.
Yeah.
He argues that effective training, it isn't just about individual development. It's about driving those real business results.
So it's not just about making people smarter. It's about making the entire organization smarter.
Yes.
More efficient.
Yes.
More successful.
Exactly. And he doesn't just talk the talk. He provides a really practical framework for achieving that.
Okay.
It all starts with aligning the training with what he calls critical business issues.
So these are like the
things that are keeping the higher-ups up at night, right?
Yeah.
Those make-or-break issues for the organization.
right, the things that are really going to move the needle on their bottom line.
Exactly. And Wallace argues that this alignment needs to be driven from the top down. You need buy-in from what he calls the stakeholders with command and control,
Okay.
those who have the authority and the resources to make change happen.
Right. It's about getting those decision makers on board, making them see the value, the ROI of a truly effective training program.
Absolutely, and that's where his instructional request intake process comes in.
Okay.
It's a two-stage process designed to really scrutinize those training requests.
So instead of just saying yes to every single training request, they're encouraged to, ask the tough questions.
Exactly.
Like, is training really the answer here?
Yes.
Or can we quantify the impact this is going to have on the business?
And get this, he even provides this crazy detailed customer stakeholder interview guide to help navigate those conversations. We're talking delving into the purpose, the background, the scope, even the approach for the requested training.
He's not messing around.
No, he's not.
It's about, being thorough,
You're trying to say?
making sure everyone is crystal clear on the need before you even start like sketching out solutions.
And that attention to detail, that laser focus on crystal clear communication,
Yeah.
it's woven throughout his entire approach.
It's like he's mapped out every single pitfall,
Yeah.
every potential roadblock, and then provided like this clear roadmap for navigating them. He's basically the Indiana Jones of instructional design.
Right. And this is especially crucial when you're dealing with, those high stakes performance situations
Right.
where the risks and the rewards are, magnified. You can't just wing it.
Right. You got to do your due diligence.
You've got to.
Make sure that training is going to deliver.
Exactly.
And speaking of delivering, Wallace seems particularly passionate about this idea of transfer.
Yes. Transfer.
Right.
The holy grail of training, isn't it?
It is. Right.
Making sure that what is learned in the training room, it doesn't just evaporate the second they walk out that door.
I know. It's something that so many organizations struggle with.
I know.
You can have the most brilliant, engaging, mind-blowing training in the world,
Yeah.
but if people aren't using what they've learned back on the job,
Right.
what's the point?
What is the point? You're right. And Wallace is the first to admit that transfer isn't just about the training itself.
Okay.
It's about the environment those learners are returning to.
Oh, okay.
He talks about this idea of culture and consequences, this notion that managers need to create a space that actually supports
Yeah.
and reinforces those new skills and behaviors that people learned.
So it's not enough to just like send people to training and just like hope for the best.
Right. Hope is not a strategy.
You need to create a culture where, continuous learning and improvement are like celebrated. They're embedded into the organization itself.
Absolutely. And this kind of culture shift,
Yeah,
that's a conversation that needs to happen at the very top.
for sure.
You need leaders to champion this idea.
Yes.
They need to role model these behaviors,
Absolutely.
create an environment where learning is seen as an investment, not an interruption.
And that's where Wallace's courage to tackle these like tough conversations,
Yeah.
it really shines through.
Yes.
He doesn't shy away from, challenging the status quo. He's encouraging instructional designers to push back, to advocate for their learners, and to work collaboratively with stakeholders to create an environment where transfer isn't just this like pipe dream,
Right.
but it's an expected outcome.
He wants us to be more than just instructional designers. He wants us to be consultants,
Yeah.
advisors, change agents.
I love that. It's about like stepping into that role of trusted advisor,
Yes.
working alongside those leaders to shape that culture of learning and performance.
Absolutely. And he walks the talk, offering really practical tips for facilitating those conversations, for keeping everyone engaged and focused on those outcomes.
He's like that friend, who doesn't just give great advice,
Right,
but
yeah.
also tells you exactly how to like put it into action.
Exactly.
He even stresses the importance of being declarative. I'll admit I had to look that one up.
I did too.
But it's actually quite simple, right?
It is. It's just being upfront about your intentions,
Right.
stating your expectations clearly, making sure there's no room for misinterpretation.
Yeah.
He also talks about being redundant by design.
Okay, so that one sounds a little counterintuitive,
I know.
but I think I get it. Sometimes you need to like repeat yourself, reiterate those key points just to make sure that like everyone's on board.
Absolutely.
It's like that saying, tell me what you're going to tell me.
Yes.
Tell me and then tell me what you told me.
Exactly.
And this ties into his whole, philosophy of going slow to go fast.
Yes.
Like taking the time to get things right from the outset, even if it, feels tedious,
Right.
will ultimately save you so much time and effort in the long run.
Absolutely. And his meticulousness,
Yeah.
his attention to detail,
Yeah,
it's evident in everything he does.
it really is.
He even talks about the importance of writing things down, of creating a visual representation of the conversation.
Oh, that's so smart.
Right.
Especially when you're dealing with like complex information or
Right.
multiple perspectives.
It's about creating that shared understanding, a single source of truth that everyone can refer back to.
And he's not afraid to like inject a little humor into the mix, which I think
I love that about it.
can be such a lifesaver,
Yeah.
especially in those high pressure situations.
Absolutely.
Like a well-placed joke can diffuse tension, it can build rapport, it can make everyone like feel a little bit more human, right?
Absolutely. But he also emphasizes the importance of, maintaining control of the conversation, making sure that it stays productive and focused.
So it's about striking that balance, right?
Yeah.
Between being like Approachable and friendly, but also being, firm and assertive,
Yes.
making sure the conversation stays on track and actually achieves those objectives.
He even have tips for like the really nitty-gritty details of like how to run those facilitated sessions.
Oh, really?
Like making sure your handwriting is legible on a flip chart.
Okay, yeah.
And to be wary of groupthink.
It's like he's thought of everything.
Ah,
From, like, the big picture stuff,
yes.
like aligning training with those strategic business goals,
Yes.
all the way down to those tiny details that can, like, make or break a meeting.
Totally. And his meticulousness is really evident in how he breaks down the different roles and responsibilities
Mm.
involved in this whole MCD process.
Right.
Like he's created a system for everything,
Yeah.
which I think is really helpful.
Especially for someone, like, new to instructional design, right?
Absolutely. Or for organizations that are just looking to revamp their approach to training.
Right.
He really does provide that clear roadmap for making that transition.
Yeah, yeah. And he even goes, like, really deep into the weeds
He does.
of different analysis techniques. He compares, the more traditional approach, the interviews, the observations, reviewing all those documents,
Right.
to what he calls the facilitated group process.
Yeah, the facilitated group process,
And he helps you, like, decide which approach is best
which is so helpful.
for your particular project needs.
Yeah.
I was especially intrigued by his explanation of the 70-30 knowledge gap.
Oh, yeah, the 70-30 knowledge gap, yes.
It's this idea that even those, like, superstar performers,
Right, the ones at the top of their game.
yeah, they often struggle to actually articulate a huge chunk of what they actually do.
It's wild, right?
It is wild.
It's like they've internalized so much of their knowledge and expertise,
Yeah.
but they don't even realize it anymore. It's like
Right.
trying to explain, how to tie your shoes. It's just something you do. You don't think about the steps involved.
Exactly. And Wallace, he offers some, like, really practical strategies for bridging that gap,
Yes.
for uncovering that hidden knowledge and translating it into training that, actually sticks.
Because at the end of the day, it's not just about analyzing performance.
Right.
It's about designing training that actually helps people improve.
And that's where his, insights into instructional design, like, really shine through.
Yes.
He has so much to say about how to structure the training itself.
Right. How to make it engaging, how to make it effective,
Yes.
and most importantly, how to make it stick.
And he's a huge proponent of modularization.
Modularization.
Yeah, basically breaking down the training into smaller, more digestible chunks. It's like building with Legos.
I love that.
You can mix and match those modules to meet the needs of different learners,
Oh, okay.
different situations.
And I'm guessing this ties back into his emphasis on like tailoring the training to the specific needs of the learners.
Right,
right?
yes, exactly.
Because not everyone learns the same way.
Right, exactly.
At the same pace.
And by creating these smaller, more focused modules, you give learners more control over their own learning experience. They can focus on the areas where they need the most support, and they can skip over the stuff they already know.
It's about like respecting people's time, right?
Yeah.
Recognizing that everyone kind of comes to the table with different experiences, different learning styles. It's about creating like a more personalized and ultimately more effective learning journey. And that flexibility is so crucial in today's, rapidly changing work environment.
Oh, yeah.
People need to be able to access training when and where they need it
Yeah.
and be able to, immediately apply what they've learned.
So it's not just about what you teach, but how you teach it.
Precisely. Wallace encourages instructional designers to, to carefully consider the most effective instructional mode for each module.
Okay, so we're talking about things like traditional classroom-based training, online modules,
Yes.
even coaching and mentoring.
all of that. It's about choosing the method that best suits the content and the learners.
Right, it's about recognizing that one size does not fit all.
Exactly.
I love how he really dives into the nitty-gritty of designing those hands-on application exercises,
Oh, yes.
the activities that really help learner, like, really cement their understanding
Yes.
and then apply what they've learned in, practical context.
He makes a really important distinction between, real work.
Simulated real work and then those talk-through exercises.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between like authenticity
Yes.
and then like practicality.
Yes, exactly. You want the exercises to be as realistic as possible.
Right.
But you also have to consider things like, time constraints.
Yeah.
Available resources.
Right. Those are always limitations.
Always. It's about making those strategic trade-offs to make sure those exercises are both engaging for those learners and effective in actually like achieving those learning objectives.
I also love how he emphasizes the importance of incorporating demonstrations or demos
Yeah.
into the learning
Oh,
process.
yes, showing, not telling.
Right.
Give people a clear model of what good performance looks like.
Yeah, and he encourages instructional designers to be creative with those demos, right?
Yeah,
We're
yes.
talking like live demonstrations,
Mm,
videos,
sure.
even just a series of well-crafted graphics. It's about finding the most effective way to visually represent that information. Absolutely. And he stresses the importance of aligning those demos with the application exercises.
Okay.
So learners can see that clear connection between the theory and the practical application.
It's about creating a more like seamless and integrated learning experience
Exactly.
where everything builds on itself.
And speaking of building, Wallace is a big fan of what he calls levels when it comes to those application exercises.
Okay, tell me more about these levels.
He suggests that you start with those easy peasy tasks,
Easy peasy.
just the ones that build confidence and get people comfortable with the basics.
Right, okay.
And then as those learners progress, you gradually ramp up that complexity, eventually leading them to, those Mission Impossible challenges.
So it's like those video games where you start at level 1.
Exactly.
And then you work your way up, right?
Yes.
Mastering new skills,
Yeah.
facing tougher challenges as you go. It's a great way to like keep learners engaged.
Exactly. And it prevents them from feeling overwhelmed, right?
Right, right.
But it's not just about making things, progressively harder. It's about incorporating those desirable difficulties we talked about.
Right.
Remember those?
The brain-bending challenges that actually enhance learning and retention.
Yes.
How do those fit into the levels approach?
Well, Wallace suggests incorporating them throughout the different levels,
Yeah.
using a variety of those techniques to kind of keep learners on their toes.
Okay.
So we're talking things like varying the practice conditions,
Mhm.
forcing people to recall information from memory
Okay.
without referring back to their notes, maybe even like throwing in a few curveballs.
So it's about like keeping things fresh or
Keep those brains firing.
yeah, preventing boredom and
Absolutely.
ensuring those learners are like actively engaging with the material.
Yes.
Not just passively absorbing it.
Exactly. It's about creating those aha moments, those moments of insight and discovery that lead to lasting learning.
Love it. And speaking of making learning stick, Wallace has a lot to say about choosing the right instructional mode for each module.
He does. He really encourages instructional designers to consider that full spectrum of options,
Okay.
from, your traditional group-paced instruction to those self-paced online modules to even incorporating elements of coaching and mentoring.
So it's about recognizing that there's no like one size fits all.
There isn't.
Yeah.
The most effective method really depends on the content, the learning objectives, the learners themselves,
Right.
and the context,
Yeah.
where they'll be applying those skills.
It's about meeting learners where they are,
Exactly.
not where we think they should be. And it's about recognizing that sometimes the most effective training happens outside of like a traditional classroom setting.
Absolutely. And this is where those job aids come in.
Okay, yeah.
Those on-the-job performance support tools.
Let's talk more about job aids
Okay.
because they sound incredibly practical,
They are.
especially in those like high stakes performance situations,
Right.
where people need like access to information and guidance like in the moment.
And it can take so many forms.
Okay.
Depending on the needs of those learners and the tasks.
Mhm.
If you're talking checklists, flowcharts, step-by-step guides,
Right.
even like quick reference cards or online tutorials.
So it's about providing like those just-in-time reminders
Yes.
and support mechanisms to kind of help people bridge that gap, right,
Exactly.
between what they learned in the training room and how they actually apply those skills in the real world.
And the beauty of job aids is that they're designed to be so easily accessible.
Right.
They're readily applicable to like the specific tasks that they're performing.
Okay, so we're like convinced performance-based training is the way to go.
Yes.
But how do we actually do it?
Right.
Wallace talks about this thing called the performance model.
Yes.
And it sounds like this is kind of where the rubber meets the road, right?
It is. The performance model, it's key. It's like a detailed map. But instead of showing streets, it shows you the ideal performance for like a specific job.
Okay.
And crucially, it helps you identify those gaps
Correct.
between, where people are now and where they need to be.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Break it down for me. Like, how does this performance model actually work?
It's surprisingly elegant, actually.
Okay.
It starts by dividing performance into what Wallace calls Areas of performance, AOPs.
Areas of performance, okay.
Yes. Think of them as like those major buckets of activity that
Ye-
make up a job.
So for our call center example, an AOP might be something like resolving customer issues or
Exactly.
closing sales effectively, something like that.
Exactly. And within each AOP, the performance model then dives into like the real nitty-gritty,
Okay.
outlining the specific measurable results that those activities need to achieve. Wallace calls those outputs.
Outputs. So for like resolving customer issues, an output might be resolved customer issue within 5 minutes or something like that.
Yes. And keeping that customer satisfaction score high.
Right, of course.
Yes.
Got to keep those customers happy.
Exactly. And it goes even deeper, outlining, the tasks someone needs to perform to achieve those outputs, the measures you use to evaluate their performance, even like who the key stakeholders are, the people who actually care about the results.
So it's like a blueprint for success.
It is.
It maps out every step of the process and who's involved.
Exactly. And here's where the gap analysis comes in.
Okay.
So by comparing this ideal performance, as laid out in the performance model, to what's actually happening on the ground, that's how you pinpoint exactly where the training needs to focus.
Okay, so it's like holding up that blueprint to the construction site and saying, okay, we're supposed to have a wall here, but right now there's just this giant hole.
I love that analogy. Yes.
Yeah.
And this is where those lessons from Hades that we talked about.
Those insider tips.
Yes.
The workarounds, all that.
Exactly.
That only comes from experience.
They come from those master performers oftentimes.
Right, exactly.
The people who are already like killing it on the job.
Yeah.
So by talking to them, you uncover those, seemingly minor details that make a huge difference in real-world performance. It's about capturing those unwritten rules, the tricks of the trade.
Yes. It's like giving those learners a secret weapon,
Yes.
like a cheat sheet for navigating those tricky situations that, you can only learn through experience.
Exactly. But it's not about shortcuts.
Right.
It's about giving them the knowledge and skills they need to actually handle those situations effectively. And that's where the knowledge and skill analysis comes in.
Right. So we've mapped out that ideal performance. We've identified those gotchas, those lessons from Hades.
Right.
Now we need to figure out what knowledge, what skills do people actually need?
Exactly. What do they need to know?
Right.
What do they need to be able to do to perform those actions successfully?
So we're essentially creating a learning roadmap.
Yes.
It's a detailed outline of all that knowledge and all those skills that someone needs to acquire to reach those performance goals that we've set.
Precisely. And Wallace offers a really clear, structured process for actually doing this.
Okay.
He even breaks down knowledge and skills into different categories.
He does. He lists 17 different categories, I think.
It's a lot.
Covering everything from marketplace knowledge to interpersonal skills to technical expertise, all of it.
It's comprehensive, to say the least. But that's what I appreciate about his approach.
Yeah.
He leaves no stone unturned,
Yeah. It's systematic, it's intentional, and it helps you avoid those vague, haphazard training programs.
Yes, the ones that just throw information at people and hope for the best.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we know doesn't really work.
Right. It's not about just checking boxes.
No.
It's about creating a really laser-focused learning experience
Yes.
that equips people with the exact knowledge and skills that they need to actually excel.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And this systematic approach, it extends to how he thinks about structuring the training.
Okay, so that's where the modular curriculum development framework or MCD comes back into play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It provides that roadmap for designing each of those individual training modules.
Right, those bite-sized chunks of learning.
Exactly.
Okay, and one of the key principles that he emphasizes is the importance of designing those modules backwards.
Yes.
Right.
You got it. It's about starting at the end
Okay.
with that desired performance outcome and working backwards.
Okay, so before you even think about creating a PowerPoint presentation or recording a video or whatever it is, you need to really clearly define those performance objectives and then design those assessments and exercises that will demonstrate mastery of them.
Precisely. And then you start crafting that content.
Right.
The information, the demonstrations, all of that, the activities, all of that supports the assessments and the exercises.
It's such a different way of
It is.
thinking about like training design.
It is.
It forces you to like be so laser focused on those outcomes.
Exactly.
It ensures that every single element of that training serves a very specific purpose.
Yes.
And contributes to those ultimate performance goals that we've set.
It maximizes both the learner's time
Right.
and the organization's investment.
Right, because time is money, as they say.
Exactly.
And he even suggests breaking down those application exercises into different levels.
Yes, he does.
Right, so you can create more of a gradual, and I imagine like less intimidating
Yes.
learning curve.
He talks about creating that range of levels, from those easy peasy tasks.
Right, the easy peasy.
Yes, just to build that confidence.
Right.
And then you work up to those Mission Impossible challenges.
Right, where they're really like having to apply
Easy.
everything that they've learned
Yes.
in a more like, complex and demanding scenario.
Exactly, like that classic video game model, right?
Yes.
You level up as you go, gain new skills, you face tougher challenges.
It's a great way to,
Yes.
keep people motivated, like provide that sense of accomplishment as they're moving through it.
Exactly, it makes that learning process
Yeah.
more engaging, more rewarding.
Right. But we can't forget about those desirable difficulties.
Yes, those brain-boosting challenges.
The brain-boosting challenges. That might make learners sweat a little bit,
That's right. They're supposed to.
but ultimately lead to, like, deeper learning, better retention. How does Wallace suggest we, like, incorporate those into the mix?
Well, he's got a few tricks up his sleeve.
Okay.
He talks about varying the practice conditions, forcing learners to recall information from memory
Right?
without, like, constantly going back to their notes.
Oh, okay.
Maybe introduce some unexpected challenges just to keep them on their toes.
Right. So it's about keeping things, like, fresh,
Fresh.
preventing that boredom and making
Yeah.
sure that learners are like actively engaging
Yes.
with the material, not just, passively absorbing it.
Exactly. It's about creating those aha moments.
Yes.
Those moments of insight and discovery
Right.
that lead to lasting learning.
And speaking of making learning stick, Wallace has a lot to say about choosing, that right instructional mode
Yes.
for each module.
He does. He encourages us to really consider that full spectrum of options
Oh.
from your traditional group-paced instruction
Yeah.
to self-paced online modules to even incorporating those elements of coaching and mentoring.
So it's about recognizing that one size
One size does not fit all.
does not fit all when it comes to training.
It does not.
Right. And the most effective method, it really depends, right?
It really does.
On the content,
Yep.
the learning objectives,
The
the
voice.
learners themselves, the context,
Like-
all of it.
All of it matters. This is where that deep understanding
Yeah.
of your target audience, their existing knowledge, their learning preferences, their work environment,
Oh, yeah.
it's critical.
It's about like meeting learners where they are,
Here's
not
the
where
thing.
you think they should be.
Right, exactly.
And recognizing that, sometimes the best training happens outside of like that traditional classroom.
Absolutely. And this is where those job aids come in.
Okay, yes. The job aids.
Yes, those on-the-job performance support tools.
Okay, let's talk more about job aids because
Yeah.
they sound incredibly practical,
They are.
especially in those high stakes performance situations.
Yes.
Where people need access to information, they need that guidance like in the moment.
In the flow of work.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And job aids, they can take so many forms
Okay.
depending on the learners and their tasks. We're talking like checklists, flowcharts, step-by-step guides, even just quick reference cards or online tutorials.
So it's about providing those like just-in-time reminders and support mechanisms
It
to
is.
help people like bridge that gap, right?
Yeah.
Between what they learn in the training and then how they actually apply those skills
Yes.
in the real world.
And what I love about job aids is that they're designed to be so readily accessible
Right,
and
yeah.
applicable to whatever that task is that they're doing. It's like having a coach or a mentor
Right.
right there beside you, guiding you through those critical moments.
Oh, I love that.
Yes,
It's like creating a safety net.
it is a safety net.
You're like reducing the cognitive load
Yeah.
and really like setting people up for success when
Yeah.
it matters most.
That's right.
But these job aids, they're not something you just like slap together at the last minute. Right.
Absolutely not. Wallace really stresses that the creation of job aids That should be a core part
Okay.
of your instructional design process.
Okay, so you're thinking about those job aids from the very beginning.
Yes.
During those analysis
From the
phases,
beginning,
and
yeah.
design phases,
Yes.
making sure that they align with those performance objectives and the, target audience's needs.
Exactly. It's about adopting that holistic mindset.
Right,
Recognizing that training isn't just about delivering information.
right.
It's about creating a comprehensive support system
Yes.
that equips people to perform at their best.
And that support system, it extends beyond like the training materials themselves,
Just
right?
does.
It's about creating a culture,
Yeah. Yeah.
where learning is valued,
Yes.
where people are encouraged to experiment, to take risks,
Yes.
and where those mistakes are seen as like opportunities for growth, not reasons for like punishment.
Exactly. And creating that kind of culture
Yeah,
that requires a real shift in mindset.
it does.
And not just from the learners themselves, but from those managers,
Right.
the leaders, the organization as a whole.
It's about creating like a learning organization.
Yes.
A place where continuous improvement, development, like
Yeah.
that's just woven into how you do things.
Yes.
And that kind of brings us back to that key question.
Right.
How do we actually make this happen?
That is the million-dollar question.
Right. And lucky for us,
Right.
Wallace doesn't just leave us hanging.
No, he doesn't.
He gives us a ton of practical advice and guidance
He does.
for like how do you align those training initiatives with the big business goals?
Yes.
How do we get buy-in?
Yes.
How do we create a culture that really like embraces this? So we're talking about like a pretty big shift here, right?
It is.
Moving away from that like old school sit and get training mentality
Right.
to something that's like far more strategic, far more impactful.
Yeah, and it's not just about, changing the training itself. It's about changing how the whole organization thinks about, like, training and development, right?
Exactly.
And this is where those stakeholders with command and control,
Okay.
those decision makers at the top,
Right. They're important.
they play such a, crucial role.
Right.
Wallace argues that their buy-in, it's essential for actually creating a culture
Yeah.
where this
Right.
kind of performance-based training can thrive.
Because they're the ones who, control the purse strings.
They do.
Right. They're the ones who decide where the resources go, what gets prioritized, all of that.
Exactly. But it's not just about the money. It's about creating that environment, that culture where learning is seen as strategically important,
Right.
not just a docs to be checked.
Right.
And this is where Wallace's emphasis on aligning training with those, critical business issues.
Right. It's so important.
Yeah, it's about making that connection, right, between the training and those big, organizational goals.
Yes.
Demonstrating that investing in training, it's not just about, developing those individuals. It's about those real measurable business results.
Exactly. And Wallace provides a really practical framework for doing exactly that.
Okay.
He talks about the importance of having this really clear instructional request intake process.
So instead of just saying yes to every single training request that comes their way, organizations need to be a little more discerning, more strategic about what they invest in.
Absolutely. Ask the hard questions up front. Is training really even the right solution? Right.
What are those specific performance outcomes we want? How will we actually measure success? All of those things.
It's about being more intentional.
Yes.
More data-driven,
Yeah.
in how we approach training and development.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And Wallace even provides this incredibly comprehensive, it's amazing customer stakeholder interview guide
Okay.
to help with those conversations.
Tell me a little bit more about that guide. What kind of questions does it cover?
It's so thorough. We're talking about diving deep into the purpose,
Yeah.
the background, the scope, even the proposed approach,
So you're leaving no stone unturned.
No.
Hmm.
You've got to make sure that everyone is on the same page,
Right.
About the problem, those desired outcomes,
Mm-hmm.
How you're going to get there. It's they say measure twice, cut once.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that attention to detail,
Yes.
that commitment to clarity and alignment, it's woven throughout, his whole methodology.
Well, absolutely.
It's he's anticipated every possible pitfall,
Yeah.
every communication breakdown, every moment of ambiguity,
Yes.
and given you that clear roadmap.
He has. And that's especially important when you're dealing with those high-stakes performance situations.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Where the risks are high,
Oh,
but the rewards are even higher.
even higher.
So, you can't afford to be like haphazard
No, it can't.
or like messy in your approach.
Yeah.
You need a proven system. You need that framework
You do.
to guide you, every step of the way. And that's essentially what Wallace has created, right?
He has.
This really comprehensive performance-based methodology
Yes.
for, designing, developing,
Yes.
delivering training that
Yeah.
actually makes a difference.
I think you hit the nail on the head.
And, one thing that really struck me as like incredibly practical
Okay, yeah.
was his concept of existing training and development assessment, or ETA as
Yeah.
he calls it.
Oh, yes. ETA. Love it.
It's this idea of like taking a really good look at what you already have, right?
Right.
Any training materials that already exist before
Yeah.
you even think about starting from scratch.
It's amazing how often we, forget to do that, right?
It is.
We just jump in and want to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, it's like that classic saying,
Yes,
work smarter, not harder.
exactly.
Wallace is all about efficiency. He wants you to, leverage what you have
Yes.
whenever possible.
Absolutely. And he doesn't just, throw out this idea of ETA.
Right.
He actually gives you a very detailed process
Okay.
for actually conducting this assessment.
So, you're really systematically going through,
Yes.
evaluating those materials, determining, okay, are these good to go as is?
Right, as is.
Or do they need a little, sprucing up, updating?
A little TLC.
Yeah, a little TLC. Or do we really need to start from scratch here?
Exactly. You got to be resourceful. You
Yep.
know? Be good stewards of the organization's resources.
I love that. And he even suggests, like, looking beyond your own organization's walls,
Oh, yes.
Maybe there's already something out there
Yeah.
that you can, purchase
Right.
from a vendor or a consultant or something like that.
Be open to all the possibilities.
Yes.
Sometimes the best solution is, partnering with someone
Yeah.
who has already created something amazing.
It's about being strategic, being open-minded, and really just prioritizing,
Yes.
what's best for the learners.
Of course, that's always number one.
And the organization.
And that's what I appreciate so much
Yes.
about Wallace's work. He's so pragmatic,
Yeah.
results-oriented.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive, into Guy Wallace's world of, performance-based instructional design,
Yeah.
what would you say is like the biggest takeaway?
Biggest takeaway.
Yeah, for our listeners,
I think for me, it all comes back to this. Training is not an event. Training is a process.
Yeah.
It's this ongoing journey.
Right.
Continuous improvement. It needs to be treated as such.
Yeah. It's about moving away from those traditional models,
Yeah.
that treat it as this like one-time thing. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I went to the training.
Yes.
Check.
Tick the box.
Right. It's like embracing a much more like holistic,
Yes.
performance-based approach.
100%. Aligning it with those business goals, measuring its impact, creating a culture.
Right. It's about making training not just a cost center, but like a strategic driver of success.
Yes. Absolutely. And that's a goal worth striving for.
It is. So as you head back out into the world, I encourage you to like reflect on those systems and those support structures that Wallace talks about. What can you do, within your sphere of influence
Yes.
to really foster this culture of performance-based training?
Yes.
How can you help bridge that gap between, the learning and those real-world results?
It's a question we should all be asking ourselves.
Indeed. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive
Oh, this is so fun.
into the world of performance-based instructional design.
Yes. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, keep striving for mastery.
I love it.